There are two things Microsoft Flight Simulator and I have in common. We both love airplanes and flying, and we're both celebrating our 40th anniversary. At least I will be in a couple more months. But starting in November of 1982, Microsoft Flight Simulator 1.0 started a journey that has stretched 40 years. And just recently, Microsoft celebrated the 40th anniversary with an event at the Evergreen Museum, and they invited me out to participate, which is a great honor, a great time, and a great way to introduce the new features of Microsoft Flight Sim 2020 40th Anniversary Edition, which now includes helicopters, gliders, and a study level Airbus 310 Sim, plus the Spruce Goose and a whole bunch. I mean, God, it's a ton of airplanes that they've added. So earlier this year, you might remember Microsoft contacted me and sent me the Top Gun Maverick edition of the Xbox Series S, which was awesome. I really appreciated it. I made a post about it. And I've been playing Microsoft Flight Simulator mostly on that because I think it's a lot of fun doing that. However, I still play VR using my setup on the PC. And then a couple weeks ago, they contacted me again and said, hey, would you like to come out to our 40th anniversary event? And well, who am I to say no to such a great honor? So I flew out from New Orleans to Portland. I have not been in a commercial airliner since January of 2020. And boy, I didn't miss it at all. But I flew in late night Wednesday, got in, pretty much had enough time to go to bed, and then got up to get on the bus to go to the Evergreen Museum for the event. The museum itself is awesome. A lot of history, a lot of cool airplanes, a lot of stuff to see. There's an Air and Space Museum next door, but for this event, it was mostly focused around the Spruce Goose. So they brought us in for a presentation where they talked about the new features. It was actually cool to see the development team stand up there and actually talk about it. And one of the most interesting things I thought, when they introduced the helicopter, they actually, now you can see the airflow and the turbulent airflow and kind of the physics behind it, which I think would probably make a good teaching tool for flight schools, because now you can see kind of how the helicopter actually flies, and no, it's not just money. They also did the same thing for gliders and showed a presentation on that and basically explained what the way forward is. One of the most impressive things I've thought from listening to the team is that they take what the community gives them and they try to make the sim better. It seems like a group of guys that are passionate about the sim and are passionate about aviation in general and trying to push the envelope even farther to try to make it as good as they possibly can. Now, granted, within limitations. I mean, you're talking about a simulator that's commercially available, but widely available. So it's not really, an FAA level sim. It's not really, it still has to be able to be played on Xbox. So, you got trade-offs with that. And what I always tell people in general is even like the FAA sims that we use for, flying the 737, the sims we used in the F-16, the F-18, they're close, but they're never quite right. There's always simism. So you're never going to be perfect. So the fact that they can do it in an off-the-shelf product, I think, is awesome, regardless of whether it's Microsoft Flight Sim or DCS or whatever. It's just the way it is. I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's still a game. So they gave us a presentation, and then they took us upstairs to fly the new 40th Anniversary Edition. And for me, wasn't really interested in the glider part. I thought the presentation was really cool. I did think it's awesome that they have the little animated dude that helps you, that runs next to it, and then you can get towed and stuff. There's a lot of cool features with that part. But to me, the biggest update was the helicopter, which I met Sergio from Heli Simmer, who was first to check out the helicopter, and real awesome dude. They were using the Pro Flight Trainer Puma X, which I'll do a review on because that's what I use as well. Just got that to replace my Pro Flight Trainer Puma. But while he was playing, I went over and tried the Spruce Goose. And the Spruce Goose, man, that thing's, it's a huge airplane. It's just a huge airplane. And, you take off over the water. I tried to do a barrel roll. You cannot. Ops tested. It will not do it. So crash and burn. But went back and flew the helicopter with the Puma X from Pro Flight Trainer. Helicopter stuff, there's two different ways you can fly it, with assist completely off, or they have a cyclic assist and the anti-torque pedal assist. I think it's best with cyclic assist on, with the way they had the Puma calibrated. The problem with the Puma, at least the Puma X, is there's no way. You used to have a little block that you could help set zero. The new one doesn't have that. So you actually have to set zero to your specific seating position, and they didn't have that. And I think it's just a little sensitive. You'd have to change the curves and get it, exactly the way you want it, which is something I'll do at home. But so it was really tough, I think, to hover, and really tough in general to fly. I think the 407 was a little bit more squirrely than I expected. The Cabri G2 actually it was very solid, very good helicopter. But once they turned the cyclic assist on, which removed some of the jitteriness that I think we were having with the control, it was awesome, and a lot of fun to fly. I think Microsoft Flight Sim is built for helicopters because it is such a beautiful sim. There's so much scenery. They're always adding expansion packs and stuff like that. There's so much depth to the visuals that it's really more fun to experience it flying low and slow in a helicopter. So I flew the 407. I flew the Cabri G2. And then from there, we broke for lunch, and then we did interviews. Now, I am not media, so I didn't really have questions to ask. I actually just followed Sergio around while he asked questions of all the various members of the team. And Jorg was probably the most impressive. I mean, they were all very impressive, but he impressed me the most because anytime you sit in a room with someone that's highly intelligent and a good leader, it really is inspiring. It's something you sit there and go, man, this guy gets it. And listening to the answers to his questions, which I'll leave a link in the description. Go to helisimmer.com. You can listen to his interviews with all the developers and even the president of the museum. You can get all that information there. I didn't think it was pertinent to this channel, but listen to their passion. Listen to what they talk about, especially with how they came to this point in development, and then what they think going forward. And it just seems like a group that's 100% passionate about the community and 100% passionate about making it better and listening to feedback. In fact, I joked with him. I'm like, hey, man, why don't you come down to New Orleans? It doesn't look apocalyptic like what the game shows. And he's like, really? Is it that bad? I said, yeah. And he goes, okay, we'll add that to the list of, development, because obviously everybody wants to go fly in the triangle, right, after seeing Lester. But it was just funny that, he's just like instant, okay, I'll take that feedback and we'll see what we can do. And that's impressive to me. It's impressive to have a group of developers that take constructive criticism on board and they're like, we need to make this better, versus, taking it personally or something like that. They just realize, they take it for what it is. So really cool listening to them, really cool meeting the team. And then from there, we got a tour of the museum and a tour of the Spruce Goose, which I don't have much experience with the Spruce Goose. I've never seen it in person, but what an interesting design. It's a piece of engineering history, right? I mean, obviously it didn't have much of a flight. I think it only went like 20 feet for, less than a mile, but it's such an interesting study in redundancy, because they say, how many engines does it have? Well, it actually has 10, because it has 8 engines plus an APU plus a backup APU. And when you go in there, there's a backup for everything. There's actually a backup coffee maker, because why not? But it was interesting, and all the volunteers there are super helpful, and they're very knowledgeable on the systems. In fact, we met one of the volunteers that's actually written a book about it. So he got to talk about that a little bit, which was really cool. And then we did a little quick tour of the Air and Space Museum next door. And after that, they gave us our swag for the thing, which is a really nice bag and headset and stuff like that. And then back on the bus, headed back to the hotel. And then I was gone for a 2:45 wake up to go catch my early morning flight back to New Orleans. So it was a quick trip. Honored to be a part of it, and just really impressed with what they did. So we'll fly more of the the new helicopter stuff. I still have to do a review with the H-145, which I'm kind of curious how the physics are going to work, because they changed the global physics to make helicopters work. So I'm wondering if the H-145, which didn't use those physics, how it's going to be adapted, because I'm told there's some really cool missions with that. Also, stay tuned for a review of the Puma X, which is really good for the Apache, especially because it's got more buttons and stuff, and they've got Luas now for the Apache, which help tremendously because DCS doesn't map stuff very well when it gets a new controller, so it's always helpful when somebody else has already done that legwork. But yeah, I'm really excited just to share some more of the flight sim stuff. We haven't done much lately, but Microsoft Flight Sim has been a part of my upbringing and career, since the beginning. And I think I either started, I don't know if it was 3.1, but I know Microsoft 5 is where I really gained an interest in flight sim and gained an interest in flying in general. And I remember flying around Meigs Field and the Sears Tower and all the city lights and the skyline of Chicago, and how awesome that was, and virtual airlines, and over the years watching it expand. Now I stopped when I joined the military, but in FS 2020, haven't played it as much just because when it first came out, it really wasn't. It was very tough to get it dialed in for the system to when I had the 2080 Ti and stuff to get it working and beautiful and stuff. So I'm excited to try it now that I've got the 3090, and especially in VR. To me, you can't do anything not in VR with flight sim. I mean, I don't do the looking at the screen thing. I think VR is the way to go. So I think it'll really be good with the helicopter, especially if you have some kind of haptics like a butt kicker or something like that to give you that feedback as you're flying around. It's a good update, and I'm looking forward to what they do in the future. In fact, one of my favorite updates is the Dark Star, because I thought the Dark Star was a lot of fun. In fact, your Mover Ruins movies, I didn't think the Dark Star really had a place in Top Gun Maverick, but having played the Dark Star on the Xbox and then watching Top Gun Maverick again, it actually gave me an appreciation for it. So I guess a mission accomplished on that. So stay tuned for more content on flight sim, and we'll still do DCS. Gonky and I are supposed to do the 1v1, but I want to thank Microsoft for inviting me out. The hospitality was just incredible. So, and I'm honored. I don't think of myself as anybody special, big name, ain't popular or anything like that. So to be included in an event like that is just a great honor. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.